Okay, cool. All right. So just before we start off, I did want to ask a random question, and maybe this is just like me just being new, but you guys know any writer jokes? The other day, someone asked me, they were like, well, comedians pull from real life, but writers are always in their rooms writing. We never see them. So like, what kind of jokes do you guys tell? And I was like, you know what? That is a great question. I don't hear writers cracking jokes to each other. So do you know any like off the top of your head? Because I was just kind of drawing a blank. No. Oh, Joseph, can you?
Just realized it. I do not know any jokes.
Me neither. Yeah, I was just like, wow, there isn't really a place of like a space for writers who, you know, are like the butt of jokes because we're never around. We're always just writing. So yeah. Okay, that answers my question. I was like, am I the only one who thinks about this or who reacted to the question that way? All right, I'm gonna stop blabbering and we're gonna go ahead and start this week's meeting. So I am Karis Wadey. And my experience with the Boston Screenwriters Group is it started just like everyone else's. I needed to find my people, my community. I came from a different industry and I didn't know anything about television and screenwriting and feature films. And I wanted to really find a space that was home with people who already were doing what I wanted to do. And the Boston Screenwriters Group was an amazing, welcome breath of fresh air, and they embraced my projects and all of this at a time where I really needed it. So I volunteered to run an extra meeting because I was one of those people who couldn't make it on Saturday and said we needed a midweek meeting, and we're doing it on Tuesday, and I hope it helps because it has helped me tremendously, but I am the new kid on the block. So if there are hiccups with the Zoom meetings, just give me 30 days to work out the kinks, and I promise I will be almost as good as the seasoned veterans, Jeff and Kenyatta. Also, we have our fabulous creator and founder, Miss Deborah Sharif here with us, who 10 years ago did us a wonderful service by founding the Boston Screenwriters Group. So if we could all just wave at her really quick. Thank you. And so as the Boston Screenwriters Group, we are a group of professionals who come together and really steward each other in our projects together every step of the way. So concepts, ideas, pitches, all welcome here as far as revisions and drafts and revised pitches. So if this is your first meeting, I am going to pick on you first, and I'm just gonna have you do a very quick introduction, like tell us where you are and if you're working on anything. So we are going to start with Mr. James. Let's start with you.
Hi, so I'm James. I'm located in Hampton, New Hampshire, so it's sort of near Boston and Mass. Currently not working on something right now, but still planning where to go. The thing that I've realized that I want to figure out is, as everyone should know, everything is being either something that's already been remade or adapted and not kept as an entire series of something. So my idea, which isn't really an idea, but the main principle of what I want to come up with is, as everyone does, is something that's original. And I saw the other day something where it was some movie, some children's book series that I read as a kid, and this got populated all over Facebook. And I was telling people, oh no, this is something that came out 10 years ago. This isn't anything new. And that's the thing that I'm seeing a lot of and I don't like. And so I figure I want to change that if I can. And I think I can. But the other thing is, I was in college at one point and I took an English major program, and I have some experience with screenwriting and final drafts and all that. It was a horrible experience, though. It was not structured correctly. And one of the things I found out was I was the only person in that major in those classes. So it would be me, the English major, and everyone else was business majors taking that as a free elective. And so when you have that and you have to do peer review with people with different screenplays, it gets really terrible because you're reading stuff and you go, this is really bad. You can't identify what the genre is, and you gotta figure out how to explain that to people, and it's just a mess. So I'm here to learn whatever I can because that was a horrible experience. Horrible. Horrible. But here we are now.
Ooh, I just want to apologize for your horrible experience. That sounds a little bit traumatic, but lo and behold, you have found your people. So
Yeah.
we're gonna try to remedy that, and then help you learn everything you can to write that new, fresh, exciting thing that the industry needs. So that's exactly what we're here for. So thank you for joining us on a Tuesday.
No problem.
Right. Bishop, you told us a little bit about yourself. You want to tell us a little bit
more? So first thing is there's dogs in the apartment, and it's getting warmer, so they're excited and they might bark. I will probably have to go in an hour, and I'm sorry about that. Okay, let's see. To sort of piggyback off of what James said, I entirely do not expect to produce anything original. I have an idea that I've been living with since 2014, 15. And it was about 2013, 2014 when I started writing scripts. I just started like vomiting them. And then I had about 4 scripts that I've just been sitting with and returning to and sitting with and returning to. And I'm pretty sure I want to make these into films. So I also kind of tried to teach myself other aspects of filmmaking over the past, I don't know, 7 or so years. I got work as a production assistant, as a PA. Then I really moved into fundraising and development for film, just because I realized, oh, I'm gonna need money to make these movies. And I assisted some directors. I don't know how to edit, and I want to learn how to edit. But the idea is, when I make these scripts into films, I want to do all the, no, that's not possible because I cannot act. But I want to do as much as I can on them. And the one that I presented today is a very, very short snippet of a feature length script that I'm not ready to make. I'm not near ready to do a feature at all. But this is a character, again, I've been sitting with for a really long time. Let's see. I guess what sticks out to me now is that how much more comfortable I feel with these projects, and that they're mine. And that also kind of what the world of filmmaking is. And that came from, the trying to get experience in different ways. But I also I do a lot of listening to interviews. So like I love Cheryl Dunier. I just love her and her work. And she had this one interview recently actually where she talked because she talks about other people. She has this thing where she loves to talk about other people and their influence on her. And she was talking about Spike Lee, and I don't even know how she got to it, but she said that someone, of course, was complaining about Spike Lee's representation of women. And he was like, well, make something then, make your own thing. If you don't like it.
Right. So that's what you set out to do, and you are in the right place to do that. So again, thank you for finding our little corner of the internet and our little corner of community.
Thanks so much.
We cannot wait to help you build out those projects so that you can be the one who's making them. And pretty soon, maybe you'll be sitting on one of those panels, being, interviewed just like Cheryl. So thank you so much for sharing that. DJ Connected, can you hear us? DJ, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. We are just doing really quick introductions. So tell us who you are, if you're working on something.
My name is DJ Harris. I'm online Omen River, but I am in the process of working on a couple of shorts that I have written out and what have you. I'd come a couple of weeks ago at Kenyatta's invitation, so I had a pretty good time. So I thought I'd come back and check it out again.
All right, thank you for dropping in on a Tuesday. We're super lucky to have you, and this is a great segue to the first part of our meeting. So for all of our vets, Joseph and Irene, Diallo, Jeff and Kenyatta, obviously, we are familiar with the feedback process, but for those of you who this is your first Tuesday with us, I'm just going to take a brief second and explain it. So we follow a two-step feedback process where we review scripts, and the first round is positive feedback, what we loved about the script, what makes it unique, what jumped out at us as being intriguing, just little nuggets for the screenwriter to know that they were on the right track with their concept or their theme, character voice, anything of that nature. And then the second round of feedback is a little more constructive, where we try to make the script better, cleaner, tighter, to tell the story as quickly and as best as that screenwriter can. So after our peer review, first and second rounds, then we open up the pitch session, and that is for anyone working on an idea, anyone who needs to flesh out an idea, anyone who wants to pitch anything is welcome to do that after our feedback process. So without further ado, we are going to start tonight's peer review with Kenyatta Hoskins' script, Text Hangover. I'm just going to read the logline really quick. An insecure girlfriend has a hard time dealing with the idea that her boyfriend may be cheating on her as she contemplates the best way to win this. And so what I loved about the script, I'm a little bit biased, is that Kenyatta wrote it. And it's another 10-page, it's another like brilliant 10-page capsule where it's all succinct and brilliant, and is a great illustration of the classic character like inner struggle. It was a really nice take on the id and the super ego, and just like, the angel and devil. There was a lot that worked here thematically. I also really enjoyed his character voice. They're always so strong. I love that I could tell how each person was showing up on the page, and even without the descriptors, I could hear from their voice what they actually looked like. So that was really nice, and one of the best reads and one of the best adaptations I've seen of a very classic story structure. So that's what I loved about it. So I'm opening the floor to everyone else.
Could I jump in?
Yep, absolutely.
Kenyatta, right away when I started reading the script, I was visual. This alter ego thing is like something I've been wanting to play around with myself. So when I saw that, and this person was basically talking to herself, but different parts of herself, her ego or super ego and the self, I thought that part was amazing. And I really found it intriguing how she didn't realize the consequences of her actions at that moment. And it was so, dramatic at the end. And seeing her sit there and reflect on that with her different parts of her personality, I really loved it.
Thank you. And just just to give kind of a little bit of background on it, I wrote this back before the pandemic, and the plan was to shoot it. And back then, we were focused on short scripts because our plan, we wanted to at least produce something, quite regularly. But the pandemic hit, and we were kind of working on how to shoot this with one actress and kind of use the camera work and make it look like she's three different people. But the inspiration for the story was based off of a joke. I was watching, if just in case people don't know this comedian, she's a stand-up comic, Leslie Jones from Saturday Night Live. And I saw one of her 1 hour stand-up routines, and she had a joke in there. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna convert this into a short script. So that's the kind of like the history behind this.
Yeah, I'll reiterate what has been said. Yeah, I like the script. It's a very inventive way to portray an inner conflict, very visually, of course, with three separate identities that are all like in conflict with each other over like how to do just the simple thing of just texting. Texting is just so ubiquitous in our society right now, but rare is it the story that goes into the thought process, because it's turned us all into a sort of like mini writers, sort of how do I communicate the message that I want to get across without being misinterpreted. And that's a skill that some people have mastered and some people have not mastered, as I'm sure we all have found out in this modern age with our smartphones and other devices. So yeah, very inventive way. I really like the script. It's not, again, I'm always admire you for doing these stories in just under 10 pages, like how you get across the drama and get across the character work on just such a short time. It's really good stuff, again, as always.
Thank you.
I agree with everyone else about the characters. We know who the characters are even without seeing their names on top of their dialogue, and they're very strong. Your writing always elicits a very emotional response, very strong response. This was a chilling piece, and it's going to stay in my mind for a while. Thank you for sending it out, because this is, I think it's important for us to think about these kinds of some of this pettiness, along with need for attention, along with how do we affect other people. I mean, I think this is a very like a global issue, but it can also be very personal. So I really enjoyed reading it and having an emotional response to what you wrote.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, I'm so used to Kenyatta's work, which I think is just fabulous. And you're right, Irene, his characters come to life, and you can actually see the characters through his writing. And that's what is so invigorating about Kenyatta's work. And, towards the end, it's really a sad commentary what happened to her. And all of us in the beginning, just to back up a little bit, in the beginning, how many times have we talked to ourselves like that? And especially if we're going to make a decision, and especially when it comes to the heart, and I can relate to this young woman. So for you to be able to develop that in a short amount of time, it's always, your writing is always brilliant, and I always love it. So kudos to you, Kenyatta.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll just reiterate what everyone else said. I feel like it grabbed me from the beginning, and I like the twist that it takes at the end as well. Like it threw me off. I wasn't expecting it to go in the direction it went. Both twists, and I love the characters. And like everyone else said, this was a great way to sort of show that inner conflict. And the dialogue's great too. So. I'm not gonna be redundant, but it was I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna move on to just if anyone has any critiques. Like, was there something that you wanted to see more of in the script? We're going to just move right into that part of the feedback. And again, I will kick it off. And I would just say that not only did I like the script, I liked it so much that I wanted to see more. I would have loved to see just right at the very beginning, and this is something just really small that you can throw in there. I would have loved to see some symbolic element of the hangover. So like at the very beginning, Trinity, she has this notebook, right? And she's sitting on the couch, she's like doodling. If we could see maybe just like an empty wine glass or like an empty bottle, just like sitting on the table, just to connect what you're doing thematically with the choice of using the word hangover. That thematically works because you're dealing with choice versus consequence. But this is a very visual medium, and you work very well with visuals. And so I feel like that was the only thing that was missing at the very beginning, was just something to show us that she was actually drunk or actually like impaired, or there was a reason she was texting frantically and having to like stop herself and go through this whole process of should I or shouldn't I, as just a very small thing. I just would have loved to see that, because I kind of had to like scroll back and be like, okay, the name of this is text hangover. I get it. But was she drinking? And I had to like scroll back to the beginning and I didn't see anything. So I just came up with like a really quick way for you to just throw that in there.
Yeah, I like that idea. Thank you.
Yeah, going a little bit off of that with I said I always admire how you do things in just such a short amount of time. Yeah, I also wanted to see a little bit more specifically with that first twist, because I wanted to see Sage and Cheyenne's reactions, the ego and the super ego's reaction to Duke dying in that the car accident. I wanted to see that byplay between the three of them with that instance. Yes, it's a fantasy thing, and I think you're trying to convey that this isn't really like happening. But at the same time, I was just thinking of the potential there of the dramatic stuff that could happen. With the ID, oh my God, I killed him. I'm responsible for this, and the super ego saying I have nothing to do with this. Like that was his decision to text and drive. I have nothing. It's not my. Just that clash. I really wanted to see that in terms of if you were to make it longer. That's what I would personally I would have wanted to see.
Yeah, I do like that idea, and I appreciate it. And I did try to keep it short, but yeah, I do like that idea. Both you guys give me some good ideas. Thank you.
I think I agree with what they're saying. Like specifically when Jeff, you made me think of that final scene being able to see all three of them just simultaneously react, and then they merge into one person, and then you see her reaction, her final reaction after she finds out what happened. And also, I think, like what Karis was saying, the title, I don't know, the title probably could play around with the title a little bit more, because that, I don't know if I felt like it's misleading or something, I can't even articulate it, but some, I don't know, something small talk or something, I don't know. But I think there's some room to play around with the title a little bit.
Yeah, I
Just
wasn't.
kind of
I wasn't completely sold on the title, and I was kind of asking for help, any ideas on that. I just couldn't think of another title, so that was pretty much my working title.
But wasn't that a great title? Because that's what it was. I mean, she had to be high, just like Karis had alluded to, in order for her to be so ambivalent about what was happening, that she was so insecure about her man not getting back to her. So that would sort of give the motivation, because with any scene, you always want the character to have what motivates them to do what they do. So I think that was an important piece. And the only thing I want to add to it is at the end, I wanted to see more emotion. So maybe Jeff's suggestion with, simultaneously having, seeing Duke, crash or say his last words, etc., with, with his girlfriend, might have been a good thing. But I didn't see enough, aside from her sobbing and, wiping her tears. I wanted more. That's the only thing, because I wanted more from you, because I'm so used to your writing being so out there and so clear. So.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you consider, Kenyatta, with these suggestions of clarifying and dramatizing the end more, perhaps making two takes, one where you see the other two characters, the id and the superego, and then one where you just hear them without seeing their faces, because we know that they don't really exist. And we know that they have different voices. I think the Cayenne has like a Southern voice, and I don't remember Sage's voice. It must be super sweet or something. And I'm asking that because I'm really a fan of sometimes when you bring in these chilling elements or these very, these characters that aren't happening in real life, you kind of pull back on the drama and allow us to take that step. And it feels even more real then when we're doing a little bit of the work ourselves. So I wonder what it would be like if we just heard those characters instead of see them.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
I think also you might see if it's, how do you feel about taking out just the tiny detail about the delivery truck? We know that it's an accident. We know that he's, gone, in that version. But I get a little bit distracted by imagining like his car with the delivery truck driver and these details that he's putting on. I really want to be in the here and now, and him appearing to her. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I could definitely take a look at that. That was pretty much like that detail was a last minute thing I did, because I had a certain idea about it. I don't know if it was going to work or not, but yeah, I could definitely play with that a little bit.
Just to kind of follow up on what Irene was saying, she actually made me think of something that is very small, but if you take it out, it allows us to kind of be emotionally devastated for a little bit longer before we get like snap back that like, oh, this is a dream, this didn't really happen. Sis is just drunk, it's fine. Where Duke's mom calls to deliver the news, and she's going through how she had to identify the body. There was a line that says, this was like the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. I would challenge you to take that out, because as a parent, like we know that it's his mom calling, and we understand the bond between parents and children. And I think that letting the actor or letting the emotion hang over in that moment would really support what you're doing thematically, and allow more gravity to sit in the script with less words. So you have more of the page to do something different, but that line felt like a little bit of exposition, which you don't do a lot of, but that one really took me out of it just a little bit. But everything else in that conversation was really smooth and very appropriate.
Okay. Thank you.
I was wondering, the last off-screen discussion with Duke, there feels like there's a lot of exposition in that as well. And I'm kind of wondering if the idea about the doorbell, maybe that could be a Cayenne comment earlier, and they're like, yeah, he was supposed to fix your doorbell, he didn't do that. So he's just not delivering he's not delivering the dialogue and in a sort of a, it feels a little on the nose sometimes, or it feels like it's a little bit like it's just a way to clarify everything all at once. And some of that I feel like perhaps could be worked in a little bit earlier, just in passing. That was my thought. But other than that, I like Jeff's idea a lot about seeing more, and Karis's idea. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Just a question for you, Kenyatta. What were your plans for this? Was it always meant to be a short, or did you think, oh, I'm going to make it a short and then later develop it into a feature? This script has a lot of potential to be a lot of different things. So I just wanted to know, what is your vision for this?
It was just a short.
Just a short, okay.
Just a short. And also too, I was sitting on this for a while. I was going to have Duke do the poem. I'm not good with that, so I was trying to, like, if you see the ... at the end, he was supposed to share the poem with her. It's just I'm hitting my head on the keyboard trying to come up with that.
Understood. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. I enjoyed it. I loved it. As far as suggestions for the title, I would just suggest you take the word text out of it. I kind of like hangover, or I guess you could just like play with the mechanisms of communication. So like sent, or you use the word like swoosh a lot in here to denote the notification sound or something like that. If you are looking for ideas and suggestions about names or movement for the names, those are just a few of my ideas. But I really like the hangover word. I think you should keep it.
Okay.
It depends on how specific you want to make it. Like you could go with just something very generic, like, I don't know, texting matters or something like that. Or do you want to make it just more descriptive of the actual story? Like, I don't know, texting decisions or something. Or so, yeah, I'm kind of, I can't really think of it right at the moment, but it's up to you. If you want to make it just very generic that doesn't really say anything, or do you want it actually to like help an audience like figure out like what the actual story is?
This might sound corny, but what about texting mishap?
I was thinking distracted.
Distracted?
Yeah.
That's not bad. Not bad. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. All right. Okay. So does anybody have any last minute comments? Anything more we want to share on the script?
Thank you for introducing me to a few new terms that I've never heard before.
There we go.
Yeah, a funny thing, I based the character on a real person that's on YouTube, and she's freaking hilarious. And if you see her, it's like I think you'll laugh out loud. And because she had me cracking up. Alexis, I can't think of her last name, but she's something else with the cigar smoking and everything like that, and her crassness. So I had to put her in something.
Definitely works. Definitely works. You chose the right character. I also really liked the names. Like the names kind of threw me off, but they fit so perfectly once I saw their personalities. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, Sage and Cayenne. No, they never go together. Never go together. But they're both spices, and you both like need them to season things. So even just that second layer of working thematically in such a short script was just like, again, brilliant. You're gonna get tired of me saying that. Deal with it. It was a brilliant script. I'm a big fan. Please shoot this.
Thank you. And thank everybody for all the feedback. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, so we are just gonna move right into the next script, which, cringing, is mine.
There's no need to cringe, Karis. No, we're all nice. We're all nice feedback givers. So there's no.
You are. This is kind of like a huge moment. I've never done this before, so you guys are the first people to see this ever. I've been working on this for like a year, just like fleshing out the concept and stuff. So,
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Okay. So I don't know if I should reread the log line, but I guess I definitely will. This is a series. It's supposed to be a 1 hour drama, a sci-fi, Southern Gothic just because of geographically depicted, it matters that it happens in the American South. But the log line reads, the journalist daughter of a cultural whistleblower strives to pass a law that protects the African-American Hoodoo community she was born into from government corruption in the American Deep South while attending an underground university. So, yeah. The idea for this was, I'm a huge sci-fi fan. I also have a pretty motley family history of both being Southern Baptist and practicing hoodoo, and I have never seen it on television before, but I'm a huge Harry Potter and a huge Magicians fan, also a big fan of A Different World and Moesha and all of these college settings, and there was nothing like that on television, and I said, well, us 20 and 30 somethings like sci-fi too, so let's tell true stories in a sci-fi setting. So I pulled a little bit from my history and decided to put it all together, and this is what I came up with. So yeah, anybody want to go first? I'm gonna just put myself on mute.
Karis, sorry, John, me and you keep going at the same time. I thought the voiceover, what the script promised, was very like, I'm your audience for sure. It pulled me right in. So many things I connect with, so many experiences that I've had, and shows that like it relates to things that I'm familiar with and want to know more about. Is there something else? There's always, more to learn. So I felt that I was pulled into the script with that. It was very visual. I really liked how you included all those details, and it was like I was seeing the movie, right before me as I read. So I really liked that. I'm from Georgia. I'm familiar with the red clay, so that connected with me as well. So yeah, there are a lot of different parts, and I'm sure I'm going to remember more of it as we continue to speak about it. But those are my initial impressions.
Thank you. I was really nervous about, hitting all the benchmarks for the first few pages, since this is my first go at it, and I've read 100 scripts before this. I'm really happy that it was executed correctly, and that the audience really, really got what they needed to from page one, because there were a lot of drafts before this. So I'm glad that it worked. All the revising and all the editing. So thank you.
Yes, I appreciate the diction too, how they say
Thank
certain
you.
words. So
Yeah.
that really stuck.
Thank you.
Well, I certainly agree. Is it Diallo? Did I say your name correctly? You said everything that I would have said. Is very, very visual, and you know the writing is on. It's really, really poetic. How you write, and I could just feel it. You know, the rhythm, the smells, the sounds, and that takes a skill. It really does, in order to, you know, to read something and have all those emotions, and you captured it. You captured it quite well. So kudos, Karis.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. That means so much.
Yeah, this is definitely highly anticipated, and you definitely fulfill what I thought you could do. I agree with everything Diallo and Deborah said. Very descriptive, and you know, you took me on this journey, and I was in for the ride. Just your descriptions were on point. Your themes and everything. Yeah, I was I was surprised and not surprised, because I was expecting good things out of you, and it was, you definitely fulfilled what I thought you could do.
Wow. Thank you so much. Wow. Oh my goodness. Yay. Yeah.
Karis, I really loved how you weaved between the different feelings of the piece, the very poetic and the very activist, and the narrative, and you know, the different characters and this culture that we're just coming up on. And you weave through it very, like, with a masterful voice. So we know that we can trust your voice as we're learning about these things. For me, learning about a lot of things that I'd never heard of or knew. So I feel like I can, you know, I don't have to like try so hard, because I know that you're showing me these different layers and these different threads all coming together. I thought that was really beautiful, and that's something hard to do. And I think you're quite good at it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll echo what other people have said. It's a very when you pitched it, you pitched it both to us, Kenyatta and I, privately, and then to the group for the last month or so. And I was always intrigued, because and the touchstone I tried to give you was a Lovecraft Country, the sort of blend of mysticism and real things, and sins of the past and sins of the present, all blending together. And you do that extremely well, especially with your descriptions. I think, as everyone else pointed out, the descriptions just so evocative, and the imagery that you get. I'll especially point out the sound description that you use, and it's something that screenwriters sometimes forget. You can also use sounds. Because this is both a visual and audio medium. You can also denote sounds in order to, and the sounds of the chains against the wall, the disembodied voices. That is also a way to just put a tone and setting into your work, and that's definitely it. And yeah, everything else that people have said, it's just, yeah, I was highly anticipated, and did not disappoint, certainly.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, makes me so happy, honestly.
Karis, I'm gonna reiterate what everyone else said. The images and the story came right off the page for me from the beginning. And I wish I could write description that well. It was really great, and really pulled me into the story. And even when I was reading the outline at the bottom, I'm like, I wanted to know more. So it's I really want to know more about the story, and that's what I took away from it. Like reading this first 7 pages, I'm like, what is going to happen next? This is really good. So keep going. Keep going. You really have something here.
Thank you so much. Wow. feel like my cheeks are burning. I've been smiling this whole entire time. Thank you for, just telling the truth about a script that is so close. It's kind of like a passion project that's so close to my heart. Sometimes writers can be a little bit sensitive about, their babies. So I'm really happy that I shared this project with this group of people that I know it's safe with you guys, and you're gonna help me make it better. And I can't thank you enough for that. So now that you have gushed about it, let's hear like some constructive criticism. Like, what do you want to see more of? Were you confused by anything? Was there anything hard to read? Any exposition that was a little bit too long? Any descriptions that need to go?
Just offhand, I know I have to read, especially the end part, more than once, because I have to get used to the language and the culture, because it's like difficult. I think it's not just this; it's just anything that you come across that you're not familiar with, and it's kind of like you kind of have to kind of really pay attention, because I seen like somebody mentioned before about language. So I don't know if that's a criticism as much as this the nature of coming across something that's unfamiliar, and you have to kind of pay closer attention.
Is there anything that I can do sort of like as a writer to make it easier to follow? Is it something like reading it and going back to reading it? Is it something that takes you out of the story that you have to go back and read it?
Well, the thing is too, when I noticed, like for example, there's a movie called The Gentleman, and it was the way the language and everything was kind of hard to understand. But once you got used to it, that's how you got into it, because it was something that he was so different that you kind of had to get used to get it absorbed into that world, because it was just so different. But once you get used to it, it's pretty much easy street from there. So it was towards page 13 when it started getting a little bit, like that for me. The first part was easy enough for me, but I don't think it's you're to blame. It's just a matter, because you said each episode is like an hour long, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that's all it is. That's what I'm thinking. That's what it is. Once I get used to the language and the culture and everything like that, it would be more clear to me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes, I think now that I know more of what you're talking about, I think further down in the episode and like a few of the other scenes, there is a lot of exposition that happens by way of all the other characters for terminology and for like, just figuring out who these people are and what their way of life is. That definitely does happen through like speech and terminology. So I'm gonna keep a close eye on pacing that, because maybe I'm putting things too close together and you're like, okay, I learned this word, but like, what does this mean? And there's another one here, and so I'll just keep a lookout for
Harris, I was, again, the writing, it read like a novel. It wasn't sort of a script, or for a feature film, or even for a TV series. It's visual writing, but I mean, brilliant as a novel writer, but you were too in the head, cerebral.
Okay.
And I got lost because the first 5 pages, we know that 1 minute of script is 1 minute. So you had 5 minutes of, sort of the beginning, which wasn't any character speaking, or anything that I could actually relate to. So the storytelling was kind of difficult for me to capture. I felt that you can still tell that story, but you got to nail it, because if somebody's going to read just the first 5 pages, particularly if it's a 60-minute piece, then you got to nail it in that 5th page. Maybe just 1 minute of, with the pictures and the civil rights photos that you had explained, because I do understand that you're setting a tone in a mood, but you got to get to it quickly. And not only do you have to get it to it as fast as you possibly can, but because your writing is so good, I think you can make that transition from novel writing to a visual writing. So, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed the piece so much, but I got lost in not understanding the story. I really didn't have a clue as to what you were trying to say. I know you were trying to express yourself with hoodoo because of the log line. So I got that, but I shouldn't have to understand the story through the log line. I should understand it through your writing.
Right.
And so in terms of trying to make some semblance of it or trying to understand it to where you were going, it was just a challenge for me.
Okay.
And you know, and I've been around writers that have been from the Caribbean that are into voodoo, but when they tell a story, you can understand it. So it doesn't make any difference that the language is different.
Right.
It's just how you tell that visual story. I hope that's helpful. And
no, it's 100% helpful. I was feeling that way a little bit. But I mean, just taking a look at the structure, I was noticing that there were chunks of text and it just wasn't flowing correctly, but I decided do not edit, just write. It's better to just get things out and then have, you know, something that you can edit or something that you can revise. So this 100% is confirming where I need to focus. And I know exactly what you mean. So thank you for that. This is really giving me a direction to go in.
I just wanted to follow with what Deborah was saying, and that, like, I would just like to see us get to the main story a couple beats sooner. So that was the only thing. I had to read through the first 5 pages. The second time I read it, it was much more engaging, but I had to sort of process what was going on.
Okay.
And so.
Yeah, I agree with both what Deborah and Joseph has said. Yeah, you need to get, you know, it's great that, and that's a hallmark of sci-fi fantasy, is establishing this world, establishing the setting, and making it believe that these characters would populate it. But you need to have a guide, and the guide is your lead, and you make sure to establish your lead characters very quickly. You know, because, you know, whether that's Star Wars with Luke Skywalker, or Harry Potter with Harry Potter, or Lovecraft Country with Atticus, like they establish the protagonists very quickly, and then they allow like the setting to sort of seep in through their perspective. So yeah, I totally agree with Deborah. I read more novelistic than screenwriting, especially with the long and great descriptions again. Great description of this world, but for screenplay, especially for a series, you need to give us the characters like right off the bat. Right, you need to give us like who these people are, what do they want, or what are well, okay, you don't need to know what they want immediately, but just who they are, like where are they going, what is their immediate goal, like let's put it that way.
Okay, this helps. This is good. This is good. Yeah. So originally the scripts looked completely different. At the last minute, I moved scenes around and started with the voiceover. That wasn't the original, so maybe I should have kept the original. So I'm gonna play around with it. In the original, you do meet my main character like right off the bat. So this is clearing some things up and giving me a better avenue to tell the story that I actually want to tell. So thank you.
Is there time for one more?
Yep.
On page 3, the voice mentioned something about a caste system. And I don't, it's on page 3 somewhere, but I don't remember what he was saying. So when I think about caste, I think about like the Indian culture, the Hindu religion, something that's very closed and something that people cannot escape from. And the hope is that, you know, this voice and this story is about, you know, creating your own path and getting out of what other people have have forced you out of these boxes that other people have forced you into. And it's also, I mean, it's a very, very specific to the Hindu culture. So I was wondering if you meant that, or if you would expect that someone would say, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yes, it is definitely a deliberate choice, just because this is taking place in America 2020, whenever this is gonna be shot. In a word like that definitely elicits a very stark reaction and a very stark gravity that okay, there's a little bit more inequality happening here in a very systemic way. So that word was used very intentionally, but maybe there's a different way that I can just show it instead of just throwing it in the script. So you're definitely giving me a little bit more to play with. So thank you for bringing that up. Thank you, I appreciate it. All right. Okay. Anybody else want to turn? Oh, okay.
Hello. So just some minor things. There was on page 7 at the skating rink. Okay. You just have POV of all these characters. Okay, and typically you need some kind of description of what people, possibly look like, some kind of, yeah. So when I went further, it was kind of, I think it would be easier to follow if you had that in terms of who characters are, and when they begin to speak, you have some kind of idea about them.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. 7 was I don't know why. I do know why I included this 7 scene. So scene number on page 7, the skating rink scene was added so that you could finally see the characters, because I did take so long in the beginning with this disembodied voice. You were just seeing pictures up until now and not seeing actual people. So this skating rink scene was just an outline to kind of connect the fact that, okay, we're talking about something that's been happening in the past, but also here in this day and age, we're starting right at a skating rink, like right here in this little town, in this little city, right here. So that this is just an outline, but I just included it to see if it fits the rhythm of the script, because I did take so long in the beginning setting things up visually. I just wanted to know how everybody felt about reading it. Like, did it take you out? Were you like a little bit confused, like why they were at a skating rink?
Well,
your first thought?
I kind of thought about it as the first 6 pages was you give us this, you're building the world, and you give us an idea what it looks like, what it feels like, and so when we got to page 7, so okay, now, because I remember you saying before that it's going to take place today, so you was giving us a little bit of kind of like history. Now, I know a lot of people say, it sounds like people will want you to get to page 7 sooner. Like maybe page 7 should happen on page 3, maybe, or page 3.5, of even page 4.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could totally make that happen. It originally was all the action scenes were higher, and I sort of were higher up in the script, and I sort of was a little reticent to do that because I realized that the audience doesn't know the world like I do. So I wanted to make it a slower introduction because there was a lot that the audience had to learn. But with all the feedback, I think that you're right. I do think that some of that action needs to happen way up there.
If you think about it, if you watch, I know people mention Lovecraft Country, and I agree with that because I was kind of thinking of that. And if you think about, if you ever, you saw that series, right?
I did.
Okay. The very first episode, they kind of had some strange things happening,
Oh,
but it
yeah.
only lasted probably 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So it's 2 or 3 pages. So if you look at other TV series, you might have the same thing where they use a technique that you're using with like a history of kind of like the world and, but because 7 minutes in, that's kind of long, especially as an hour episode.
Mhm.
So, just piggyback on what everybody else said, maybe this page shuttle should be on page 3 or 4 or 3.5.
Right. I can definitely do that. 100%. Thank you. All right. I did have another question that I wanted to pose to the audience. I picked a very specific age group, and these are like older, mid 20 somethings, like older 20 somethings. It's not exactly a kid story, even though there are children in the story. Does that age range feel authentic for the script? Is it like believable? These are just people I picked, but I want to tell the best story possible. So I'm opening the floor to you guys to see if it's authentic.
It's a little bit hard to judge so early on.
Okay.
I think once you give them some dialogue and more action, more settings, and especially more interaction with each other, then that'll be an easier question to answer.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. I will definitely do that.
So they're like the early 20s, am I correct?
Yep.
And they're in college, right? Is that what the idea was? They're in college, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Grad school.
and so they're at the age of you start to get on your own. Because when you're teenagers, you're living at home, and then you go out to college and you're living on campus. You actually you get your foot, you're putting your toe in the water of adulthood.
Mhm.
So if that's the kind of like if that's the direction you want to go in, I think the age range is perfect.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for that. Thank you so much.
I was just going to say, it's also like, X-Men when, adolescence starts to, their powers start to like show up more because of their emotional states. They're in, I think, early 20s are, works fine. Also, you're still going through sort of growing pains at that point. So at least what I think you're trying to go for.
And you think about it too, when you're living at home, you're under the guidance of your parents, and if you do something wrong, you get punished or whatever. So there's some kind of deterrent there. But when you go to college, you're 18, 19 years old. Your parents, you're away from your parents, so you have to kind of regulate yourself, and it's your responsibility to do the right thing and kind of try to whatever you were raised and you learn as you were growing up. Just do what you learn growing up, and if you don't, because people, you make mistakes, because you are young and you want to kind of push the boundaries a bit. You're getting a drink for the first time, maybe because it's 21, but you might be 19, 20 years old. You want to be part of a social group, and so there's peer pressure there, or the feeling the need to drink to be what the girl you like, because that's this part and the drink in there. You know what I mean? So you tend to make a lot of mistakes at that age, and because it's just a lot of self-regulating, and there's nobody to kind of like answer to, unless you break the law, so on and so forth. So you decide what time is your curfew. You decide what time you go to bed. You know what I'm saying? So you're just now getting used to that. You know what I'm saying? So so life is more of a teacher than your parents. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Okay, thank you, that helps a lot, gives me confidence that it's the right thing, that they are the right age. Okay, yeah, can't wait to write more. You guys have given me wonderful feedback, and I'm so excited to go back and fix all of the things about this script. Okay, well, we are going to stop talking about me, and we are going to open up the floor for our pitch session. Now, this is the part of the meeting where the members can just throw around their ideas, get a little feedback on them, build them out a little bit. We actually do have a script that is going to kick off our pitch session. And Bishop, if you just want to again reiterate a little bit about Nomi, you were telling us a little bit earlier, but if you could just refresh our memory. Bishop, microphone, can you hear us?
Hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. So this past holiday season, I took a DNA test through Ancestry.com, and I was surprised. I'm getting used to the results, but I guess I'm mostly like my DNA, my lineage goes back to Nigeria and Scotland, which I didn't expect either of those. And it's like 55%, and then everything else is like much, much less. So I've been spending some time with that. And when I came back to this character in this snippet of the story, I thought, oh, okay, so I'll make her Nigerian Scottish, which is actually kind of a thing, much more over in England than it is here in the United States. I connected with two women in England who identify as Nigerian Scottish. And yeah, it's this strange club I did not identify with. So I'm now putting this character Nomi in that club as well, especially because she's basically an extension of myself in some ways, only in some ways. As for the fathers in the script, I had 3 gay uncles who were really important in my life. And so that they're based on my uncles, and my connection with my uncles. So that's a little bit about the characters. Her whole name is Nomi Charlotte Faulkner. And yeah, that's a little bit of him. It's short and it's sparse, but I really like watching cinema like that. I like dry cinema that like there's this movie called Jerry, which no one really, I don't know. Yeah, it's just 2 guys lost in the desert, and I love it. I love it. So slow pace, I love it. I don't want this to be too full, not outwardly. I want it to be inwardly full. I also want it to be largely colored in by other people. You know, I'm giving sort of a coloring sheet to viewers. So it might seem underdeveloped. To me, it feels really full. If you could see how my apartment is not decorated, you would understand. But yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Bishop, have you come up with like a log line or some sort like, do you know what a log line, just a like condensed like 1 or 2 sentence description of what you're of the story you're trying to get across?
I did a lot of work on this back in the 2010s, and I sort of just dug this up. Not a lot of work, but I did work on it back then, and I just dug this up this past weekend. So I don't have the long log line here in front of me, but Google and Gmail has it somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said it was an adaptation of Single Man, the Colin Firth movie from.
Well, I mean, that movie just made me think of one of my uncles. But no, I mean, it's not really. The death part, the death is in there, and you'll see death in my slow scripts because I'm actually I work at cemeteries, so death is kind of like a thing in my life. And yeah.
All right. Just a question. Is this story more character driven? So like, do we see the world through Nomi's eyes, or are we experiencing it through the people that she meets, like her uncles, if she has uncles in this movie as you did? Are we watching her react to getting the news, or are we watching her react to going after finding a community in a place where she fits? Does she feel like she doesn't fit before? What was driving her to even be curious about finding out her heritage? Was she lied to before? There are just a lot of character-based things that I'm like really intrigued to ask you as the writer. And I wonder if you have thought about that, like just giving, you said you liked to give a wide girth for other creatives to add stuff to your scripts, which is amazing and beautiful. It's just we need a foundational understanding of who the actual character is, so we can continue to add layers and build it out. And it's just like a framework. So these questions are more just guides to just get you thinking about more of how to translate who Nomi is on paper, so we can then take Nomi the character on Nomi's journey, which is your script.
I definitely want to see more introverted women of color on television because I'm an introvert and I don't see that at all. I see a lot of extroversion, which is not. I love dancing. I don't dance around my room. I don't do all of the extrovert. I'm just a very introverted person. And I want to see more of that. I think it's just underrepresented. So Nomi's introverted, and that's really important for me to have that visible in this and whatever else I make. That I'm not going to be sassy. I'm actually not going to do that at all. So yeah.
So what would we see if that's the case? Not everybody that's a introvert
Right.
or an extrovert. What would we see on the scene?
Yeah, I really just want to make a film where you see someone where you see her doing everyday normal things, like taking a shower, like making a cup of coffee, like thinking about these things and people who have mattered to her. Because I just don't see that. There's a lot of things I do see that I love. I love Lovecraft Country. I love that is what motivated your script. But I don't see quiet stories around women of color. I don't see that space I guess for me allowed to women of color, of just being like, I think that is given to a different kind of character, and that just makes me feel really resentful. Like,
Well, they had, I mean, I don't mean to interrupt, but The Color Purple showed Whoopi Goldberg's character as very shy. She was abused, even though it was a different kind of genre. But if you are dealing with stories like that, there's definitely an audience for it. But the most important thing is you can find those kinds of movies. And I don't know if you saw The Color Purple, but I'm sure all of you would agree that even the child, when she was only 14 and was impregnated by her stepfather, she was very shy. It was her sister who was outgoing. So, I mean, those kinds of stories are out there. And I think in order to engage not just an audience of introverts, but also an audience of all of us, we can all identify with being shy at some point. I mean, I don't consider myself shy, but at one point I was very shy. So I think those stories are out there. And I think it's awesome that you say that you don't see enough of, that we have a writer that wants to see it happen, Bishop. Does that make sense? So make it happen, girl. And, and show those stories, because we can all relate to being shy. We can all relate to it. I teach. I teach college students, as well as back in the 90s, I taught high school students. And I can't begin to tell you how many students that were very shy, that couldn't even come out of their shell. And eventually they did. So if you want to show that butterfly effect, where somebody is real shy and into themselves, and then all of a sudden they're like a butterfly and they bloom, or they just stay that way and they have a great life. So I think you as a writer, that's your challenge, but make it interesting. If you are going to show somebody shy, you got to make it interesting even for those who are shy, because guess what? You'll just have an audience of one if you don't challenge yourself to think about what's the message? What am I trying to convey?
And I think one of the most important things is to, we said this many times over, that what does a character want? And the character has to be forced to make certain choices. So, it's fine if the person's an introvert. Like, for example, I watched the show Shameless, and there's a character on there. In the beginning, she couldn't even leave her house because she was what do you call it? Agoraphobia. She was agoraphobic, excuse me. So, eventually she got out of it, but for at least a couple of seasons, she was like that. But she was a very interesting character, even though she had things about her that was very interesting. But ultimately, you have to decide, what does the character want? What is her worldview? Who's going to challenge her? Who's going to challenge her to make choices? And that's going to be the important thing.
Yeah, I kind of like what Deborah was saying, because when I looked at it, I'm like, this girl, you see, she's quirky. Like, you can see her anxiety, and it made me, how old is she? Why would she just not speak to the neighbor? Why is she running in the house? Like, is she a kid? Is she an adult? So, and I couldn't figure that part out, but putting those characteristics on display, I think you might do well, like Deborah said, having the contrast to her personality, but somehow keeping the focus on that main character. And I also, so does she have two dads? Because I think I got a little confused there. She was watching her father.
Who's dead?
And then, what's that?
He's dead. The first one
right.
Is dead, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the second one is Dada.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't pick up on that until you explained it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to read this twice in order to understand that she had two dads. I would like to back up what Deborah's saying about making the character interesting. If you can interest us enough in a character and have us root for her and for what she wants, and to be fearful of what's going to get in the way, or to feel somehow have some kind of conflict within ourselves about the conflict that she's having, then you've got it. Whether she's an extrovert or an introvert, it's going to be a lot harder for us to identify with or to feel emotional about an introvert, because all of the richness of their thoughts don't necessarily come out in their actions. So there's, there are some tricks that you can do for that to get an audience interested in an introvert, and watching other movies and reading scripts about introverts or people who, keep to themselves is really going to go a long way. But as you move about your day, you said that you're an introvert yourself. As you go about your day, you can even see what kind of things you could lead the audience's eye in to have them be curious about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and what's stopping you from, doing more of what you want to do, or where are your internal struggles and how do they express themselves in your outward actions. There's a lot of opportunity there, and the fact that, not a lot of people do show introverts it really is more of an opportunity for you to fill that space in. I think, I think a lot of people would want to work with you, other writers, and to help you with such a script, because a lot of us are introverts, and a lot of us do kind of see the magic in the day-to-day reality, whereas people who might want to receive more energy and interact with other people and other personalities might see details as mundane. Well, we can really find the magic in it. So it's good for you to keep, meeting with writers and seeing what else is out there.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna reiterate. I think the stories about introverts, they don't necessarily have to follow the formula that they have to blossom into like the social butterfly or anything like that. Because that's the common, that's the common story element. So many '80s teens romance comedies are just about that. The wallflower that blossoms into someone who's much more sociable and personable, but. I mean, I can guarantee you have probably never met anyone more introverted than me, probably my teen to early 20 years. Like I was really just borderline antisocial, and part of that was because I didn't have a lot of social skills, and there's a long backstory there. But one of the misconceptions about us introverts is that it's not that we don't want to talk to people, it's just that it takes a lot of energy to talk to people for us. Like we do either for a variety of reasons, whether we don't want to embarrass ourselves, make a fool of ourselves in front of other people. We're just meeting, especially when we're just meeting complete strangers. And so, yes, I'm sure there are a lot of other people that do exhibit antisocial behavior, but most of the time for basic introverts, it's just that it takes just a lot of energy in order to come up with the courage of just saying hi or saying hello. And social media has not made that easier, unfortunately. So no, I definitely think there's definitely an audience for that. I think even it would surprise you that the people that you run into who consider themselves very very quiet and very shy, like in their personal life, but it's just and the idea about someone discovering their heritage is a big deal nowadays with 23andMe and the site that you used, Ancestry.com. People finding out about, and dispelling, family myths and trying to set the record straight in that end. That's also a huge avenue you could go down. So I definitely think you have a lot of story potential, two great story potential ideas right there.
I mean, that's the whole point too about conflict. And you said it. It's not that you want to be introverted or, you don't want to be socially awkward, but there are the challenges. Like you said, you don't want to embarrass yourself. You don't want to say the wrong thing. Maybe you were teased, I don't know. But all that's conflict. And also I like what Irene or Iris, I'm sorry, said about being able, I've said this before too, on my own, where we take things for granted, everyday average person, where you can, we pass by a tree, the leaves and nature and all that kind of stuff, and you don't think anything of it. But imagine taking time out. It's kind of like meditation in a way, where you can appreciate the world the way it is, kind of like in slow motion. It's almost like a talent, a special talent that nobody, else have. So to kind of show that, I think it's a beautiful thing. And there's a lot of potentiality for conflict. And no, you don't have to, because ultimately you have a goal. Either you're going to achieve your goal, or you're not. So, not every story of the person achieves, what they were trying to do. But it's all about the journey. And, there's a lot of people out there who are introverts that could relate. And I think there's definitely an audience for, what you're talking about.
Just to give you a few ideas on maybe how to not introduce her more, or just little things to lean into about the category of introvert humans just in real life. Introverts, we operate under the premise of intentionality, which is why we don't generally enjoy small talk, and we tend to stay very focused on things that spark passion and interest, and things that are constructive, things that we love to pour ourselves into. So our mental energy, sometimes our physical energy, sometimes fiscal, like we will throw money at hobbies and things that we enjoy, because we want to spend our time the best way that we know how, which is being productive, or feeding something. We don't really like passive things as introverts. And so if there's something on Nomi's mind or her heart or something that's really, really important to her, then that would be a trigger. And that's something that maybe you can use to connect her to other characters, maybe other characters that she would run away from normally. Like maybe she could be like, eavesdropping on one of their conversations, and then like hear something that triggers her and then forces her to maybe stay out on the porch a little bit longer. And then like maybe she could like kick something off the porch, and then like people look up and they realize she was eavesdropping. They're just very small ways that you can stay true to bringing the very unique nature of depicting introvert characters on screen. We also tend to have really, really small groups of friends and close acquaintances. And these are the people that we share confidences with. And these are the people that when we do have to hang out, we would prefer to hang out with them, and instead of large groups of people. So it's really good that we're meeting her alone, but then we're also seeing her with family, and we're seeing her, come home to where she lives alone. So you do have a lot of room there. You could also use a telephone call, like Kenyatta did, use a telephone call to depict a personality, or like maybe a struggle or something, because as introverts, we really like words, which is why we choose them very carefully in conversation, and we tend not to waste them. So I'm imagining that when Nomi talks, it's serious, and what she has to say, she's been thinking about it for a while, and you can bring that across in a bunch of different ways. So you have a really good foundation for telling the very honest story and using the exact character you want to use for it.
Just want to say this is a lot of feedback for 1 minute of a movie. That's
what we do. That's what we do, man.
There's a movie it reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen it, Amélie. It's like a French movie about this girl who's like, I think her father thinks she's
I
sick
love
or
that
something.
movie. Yeah.
Oh, you've seen it? Okay, it's been a long time, but it reminded me of that.
I was thinking about that too, just because, you know, because of her personality. I mean, she's much more upbeat than here. I felt that this page was, there was a lot of melancholy here. And, you know, I felt she's taking the boy, young Jack, as a symbol of her, but she'll never reach that point where she can do snow angels with her father. She was laying next to him, but it was, you know, not a joyous moment, obviously. If you want to consider having these you know, additional foils, minor characters who come in where she sees, like, I could have been that, but no, my life is, you know, that person is a symbol of what I could have been, and I was kind of in that situation before, but no, I'm, you know, completely on a different route. And then she comes to enjoy the life that has come out to her, and she grows into herself, you know, whether she's, you know, and I agree with Kenyatta, she doesn't need to end up being an extrovert, but just for her to find the meaning in her life and in the things that have happened to her, and to enjoy it and to own it, I think would be a great goal for her, or even a conflict that comes up. You know, is this ever going to happen? Is she going to ever feel like she can come into herself? But I really, really enjoyed that, you know, just the difference between young Jack laying in the snow and her laying next to her father.
Can I say something?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
If it comes off as a sad movie, I don't think I would want to make it happy. I think maybe I put the snow in there to show the coldness of it, and I think I'm okay with that. With that being, thank God it would be just a minute, right? But I think I think we often, you know, really we try to work for happy stories because we need happiness. We need to be happy. But there are moments that are not like that, that are just quiet, and they're in the morning, and, you know, she would be in frumpy bedclothes. You know, this is not a fancy moment. So I don't know. I hear the suggestion. I think it's okay being a little, if it feels melancholy, then, you know, she hasn't had coffee yet. Just,
Well, the thing is, the melancholy is fine, and you know, if it's a sad, I mean, I've seen movies that were sad, but my thing is that this the story is populated, unless it's like, I never saw the movies. There's a movie called Room where I think it's just her and her son, one room. I think in the entire movie. I'm not sure. That's what it sounded like, what it's about. But unless she's in a room by herself throughout the whole movie, there are going to be other people that populate, I guess, you know, the story, and not everybody's going to have that personality. Maybe she'll have that personality, but how many times in, you know, reality, where you may be shy and everything, but other people, you're going to come across people who are always joking around and wild and extroverted and so on and so forth. So you're going to have like you're going to come across different personalities. So that doesn't say that the protagonist herself has to be that. I mean, she has her own struggles, but what about other people? I don't know how many have. So is this you only want wrote one page, or do you have an idea? Do you have an outline of the rest of the story? Is this a feature? What is this? Is this a feature?
It's a page from a feature that I wrote back in 2014.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking of making something really short this year, just really short.
Like how short?
Like 2-3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you. All right. I mean, something like that will work. But anything long, if it was a feature, it's like, that would be very hard thing to do, to have an introvert and then, have be all about them and not really populated by all these different personalities that you'll normally come across. You know what I'm saying? But you could definitely do that 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, Bishop, I definitely don't think you should shy away from melancholy or sadness, because not everything in life is rainbows and laughter and everything. And there are ways to do that in a short runtime. There's different means and definitely different stories you can fit into a very short runtime. And if it's something that you just wanted to shoot on your own, like in a one location with another actor or even yourself, I would definitely, I think you could definitely find a good story to fit that.
Yeah, did you guys see Nomadland?
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, I haven't seen that. That's in my queue.
Great example of that's a great example of sort of a very closed off person that just doesn't fit it well. It goes a little bit more further beyond than just introvert and extrovert, but that's a great example of finding a story with this very isolated woman traveling the Southwest. It's a very, very good movie. It's a very good example. Yeah.
I think that there's a genre of quiet movies. This genre does not include women of color. I understand. I've seen The Color Purple. It's not that though. I mean, there's quiet stories that are beautiful and are meditative, and they're not box off hits. That's not happening. But it's I want to see something where it's a quiet story and maybe a little boring and maybe a little sad and okay, but I want to be a part of that genre.
I mean, I remember there was a recent conversation about coming to America. And then you had the Leslie Jones character. She was very loud and thirsty. Then you have the roles that the other Tiffany Haddish plays. So there's a lot of stereotype, and it's prominent about when you say African or Black women being quiet and everything. And it's just the opposite of what people complain about, like that constant. Because I think people like Tiffany Haddish and even Leslie Jones, they're too talented to keep playing these stereotypical roles. So yeah, I mean, but in order for them to play something different, somebody has to write it. So I applaud you for trying to give us a different flavor.
It's like Deborah said, do it, girl.
Yeah. I think we have definitely given you a lot to think about, or a lot to, just mull over. If you choose to do that, the choice is yours, definitely. But just know that whatever you write and whatever you build out, you are welcome to bring it back here, even if it is a quiet story. We like stories of all kinds. So continue writing, and we will look forward to maybe your next quiet story.
The last thing I'll say is my schedule at the cemetery shifts around. So sometimes I might work on a Tuesday, and then I won't be able to be here. But if I'm not working on a Tuesday, I'll be here.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we love to see you anytime you want to drop in on a Tuesday or a Saturday. That's why we have meetings, in the middle of the week, and then meetings on the weekend. So whatever fits your schedule, we will be here to help you with your script. So we're going to use our last 10 minutes to open the floor up to anyone else who wants to pitch something. Maybe there's been an idea rolling around in your head, or something you maybe ran into when you wrote yourself into a corner. That's what this pitch session is for. So anyone who wants to make a comment can definitely do that.
I have a question, maybe some recommendations that I can get for some things to watch. I am interested in writing a sci-fi that deals with DNA and our ancestry.
Gattaca.
Okay.
It's late, I don't even know, late.
I saw that.
Yeah, from 95 with Ethan Hawke and
Uma Thurman, right? No?
Thurman, there you go, yeah. And Jude Law, yeah. Very, very good movie, very underrated. Was one of the first movies to tackle like DNA, and Jurassic Park did that sort of very sensationalized and everything, but Gattaca really dealt with it, I think, on a surprisingly nuanced level.
Well, this is DNA science plus historical conflict, country conflict, and so futuristic plus also historical plus science. Maybe it's a bit messy, which is why I'm having a big struggle with it.
Maybe like Westworld, because that sort of deals a futuristic world, but they create this sort of like theme park for the past, whether that's the Old West or feudal Japan. The new series kind of, I think, is what I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Maybe that's sort of mixing futuristic. I don't know, what would you have it? Recreating the past in order to like sort of just create another like playground for the rich and well off.
Okay. All right.
I've never seen Altered Carbon, but I think Altered Carbon might be along those lines too.
What's that?
Altered Carbon.
That's on Netflix. I think there's like 2 or 3 seasons. Yeah, it deals with scientific realism and futuristic DNA. There's also a show with Jason Bateman on Netflix. It deals a little bit with like robotics and like cloning. He like clones himself. I'm running a blank on what the show.
I think you're talking about Paul Rudd, the show where he basically clones himself into a better version of himself.
That's it.
It's
that show.
Living with Yourself.
Living with Yourself.
Let me see. I think that's Living with Yourself.
Living with Yourself. Yeah. You might want to watch that as well, just as like not a tone reference, but just if you're thinking about also dealing with timelines, and you mentioned history, that's a really good show to watch to just see how they navigate, because I think at one point there are like 3 main characters and they're all in the same room. They all come from different timelines. They all have different personalities. And then you kind of get to see, how his DNA is spliced together and why it's different in that show. So, and it's more of like on the drama side. It's not actually like ridiculous. So I would try that one too.
Okay, thank you guys for your recommendations.
I would also, just to revisit, if you haven't revisited Blade Runner, I think there's a lot of genetics in that as well, in terms of like creating artificial people and themes about what it is to be human. Either one of them, either one, Blade Runner or Blade Runner 2049, I think has a lot of those themes. So also Fast Color, if you haven't seen it.
Looks like I'll be watching a lot of movies.
Is there any particular angle you're going for? The DNA and like historical, is there any particular angle you're trying
And
to
there's
get at? Or?
and Jeff, I have a quick question. What's the name? Is that Octavia? She's a black female. She's a
Spencer.
science fiction.
Spencer.
No, not
Oh.
Spencer. Was it? What is it?
Maybe
It's like
Butler.
Butler.
you-
There you go.
What?
Okay.
Yeah, maybe read some of her stuff. I think she has, because that movie that came out recently, Antebellum, a lot of people thought was based off her book, and I think it was very close. I don't know if it's the same title. Does she have a book called Antebellum?
No, she has a book called like The Kindred or something like that.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I think if you check out The Kindred, I think that may have something to do with what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Well,
it does. Yeah.
That
it's
deals with mostly time
Octavia,
travel.
Butler.
Octavia Butler.
Spencer she's a
The actress.
The actress. Yeah.
Well, if you're going to deal with Octavia Butler, Kendrick does deal with kind of a time travel-y ideal, but Xenogenesis deals with more of what it means to be human with the DNA. Also, she has another one that is called The Parable of the Sorrows, which deals with more of a psychic powers type of thing. But those Xenogenesis and the Parables are two series of like 3 or 4 books that inform you on that particular genre and subject matter.
Okay, I'll tell you guys. Jeff was asking what angle am I looking for. So everything that I write has like an Arab American flavor to it because I'm Egyptian, and this is what I know best. And with all of the upheaval that happened this past year in 2020, with especially with the race issues, I felt really spoke to my heart. Except it was not the community that I grew up in. So how did I feel about all of this stuff? And I went back to do some research, and I found that in I don't even know if it's the 1400s or earlier 1300s maybe, on the north coast of Africa, that the Africans, the Arabs, would take white people and enslave them. And that was a huge shock to me. And I didn't know, this is where the term barbarians come from the Barbary Coast and from the Berbers, who were tribes people over there. So I was thinking about writing a story about a scientist who uses DNA along with ancestry information to bring back someone from that time and from that location. Not to bring back someone, sorry, to create someone, to create a DNA hybrid, someone with like ancient, older DNA and, a person who already exists, to bring them into the mindset of a Berber or a Barbary pirate back then. Not exactly a kind of, like that kind of thing, but someone who has that mindset of, we're going to not only revolt, but we're going to enslave the people who tried to take our land, and just kind of flip everything on its side, but from an Arab point of view. I do have someone that I can consult with for like the DNA science. I have a geneticist, that I can talk to anytime I want. But the idea of bringing in someone who's Arab into this science fiction world is going to be something very new, and I'm a little bit like, I need to learn more about science fiction that's out there and that's successful before I start writing it.
You know, everything you're describing, I know you probably don't play video games, but there's a very famous, popular video games. It comes a different one comes out every year. It's called Assassin's Creed, and they also made a movie based off of this video game, and it's starring Michael. I can't pronounce his last name, but the guy who played in the X-Men movies, he played Magneto in the newer ones.
Oh, Fassbender, yeah.
There you go, Fassbender. Okay, yeah. So I haven't seen a movie, but it's based on a video game, so it has to be like the video game, I would guess. And everything you're describing is exactly what they do. Like, for example, like the first one, the guy is a assassin from. They go through like every year something different. One year they were Vikings, another year they were pirates, another year they were in Africa, and then there was one where he played a slave who was freeing other slaves. So everything you're saying is exactly the storyline of this video game. And I'm pretty sure that the movie based on the video game. So maybe you could try it out and see if you get ideas from that.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Also, there's a movie called Jen. I don't know if you've heard of that before.
Yeah, I tried to watch it like a week ago.
It didn't work.
I couldn't get through it.
All right. Well, hopefully we gave you a good enough list and you can keep us updated on just how many of those things you have seen when we have our next meeting. And I just want to remind everyone that our meeting tonight was recorded, so it's going to be uploaded on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't gotten tired of listening to all of us talk, we have a podcast too, you guys. You should check us out. We have new episodes every single week. Jeff and Kenyatta do a great job with the podcast. Don't worry, you won't have to listen to me. I'm your very annoying host for Tuesday, so I don't have to do the podcast, but we do have that. And again, thank you all for spending your Tuesday night with us. Thank you for all of your feedback and for staying engaged this entire time. You guys make my Tuesday that much more enjoyable.
Can I just do a quick reminder?
Yeah.
Don't forget to visit the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like and comment if you can. And also, like Kara said, check out our podcast and do the same thing. And that will be very helpful.
Karis, we will be happy to have you on if you ever want to chime in on one of the topics or movies that we cover. We'll be happy to have you on, of course.
Another opportunity to talk.
There you go. Another opportunity to listen to all of us. There you go.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, again, thank you all for spending your Tuesday with me. And in 2 weeks, I expect to see you all again.
All right. Good night.
Good to see you guys.
All right, have a good night.
All right. Bye.
Thanks.